Today's a big day.
It is the big day, man. What do you think about all this that's going on?
I think that I think that we're in a very, very um, historical moment in time that people are. I don't think people are going to be ready for either outcome. Personally,
That's what I think. I think regardless of what we see, there's going to be more contention. There's going to be more bitterness, animosity, all that stuff. Regardless of what happens today, at the end of this day, it's gonna
yeah.
be wild. Brace
No,
yourselves.
it's you need a break. I'm leaving. I leave tomorrow. That's why I was saying I'm on an airplane tomorrow. So I got to fly out to North Carolina, which is I'm out there once a month, but it's interesting, man, because where I live in California, this is the odd thing. I live in a spot in California, we're pretty red where we're at. It sounds weird, but we're pretty
Are
red.
you where are you? Are you in San Diego area?
I'm in San Diego, so
Okay,
so we're
right.
so I mean, like, I could see Camp Pendleton from my house.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like where Jocko's down further south, he's down. I mean, he could see Coronado from his house. So like
Right.
what we're at and how things break down, it's different. We live in a little bit of a bubble compared to other. I mean, like, Orange County is it starts to flow, and then once you get to LA, it definitely changes and stuff. But like, um, so you just see it and you see things a lot differently. And like, when I travel, I really see it when I travel, but I don't see it as much here in San
Hmm.
Diego, like where my part of San Diego. But I
Right.
do feel that, I feel that it's gonna we're gonna see some definitive moments in time that's gonna happen, in the next day or two for sure.
Yeah. What do you think? Are you thinking like rioting, looting, vandalism, some of the same stuff that's been going on? Do you see it getting worse? What are your thoughts?
I don't know, and that's the thing, is that, like, I don't know. I know that it's odd because I feel that, look, if Trump gets elected, I feel that, yeah, then for some odd reason I feel that there's going to be massive hysteria.
Mm-hmm.
And if Biden gets elected, I think there's just going to be a lot of pissed off people. Like, they're not going to go. There's not going to be. I don't feel that there's going to be chaos. I think there's
Right.
just going to be
I agree with
upset
that.
people. I think that if Trump gets elected, it's going to be one of those things that it's going to be like this. It's going to be this like upset kid that's just throwing a temper tantrum, because none of that's going to matter. It's not going to change the government. It's not going to change any other things that are going to affect our lives, by
Right.
blowing things up and like breaking down people's windows. I mean, when I was watching people board up their windows, I'm like, like, what? Like,
Yeah.
seriously? Like, what? Like,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where we're at right now. I mean, that's it. That's where we're at in society right now. And I mean, we're in a space right now that it's very divided. It's you're either on one side or you're on the other.
Yeah. There's no
And
middle ground whatsoever.
no, and that's where I would love to see people just kind of like somehow figure out how to understand that there's deeper meaning behind a lot of this stuff, and understand that, like, there traditions and values and all these things that have existed for thousands and thousands of years exist for reasons, and like, just to start to sway away and start to just kind of, like, just move away from different aspects of that, like, that doesn't help. Like, it doesn't help the situation in a way that, like, will progress it. Sometimes
Right.
it slips it back,
You know,
and that's
I,
where I
I
feel we're at right now.
I agree. I think, I look at it from the perspective of the family unit being undermined. Also, church, regardless of what church you attend, like, people aren't going to church, church is being diminished, the gospel is being diminished. And so these are where people in the family and at church learned values and embrace these traditions, that you might be talking about. That's where we learned how to be decent human beings. And those are the two
And
places that
that's what
seem to
it's
be going by the
about.
wayside.
But that's what it's about. It's about becoming a decent human being. It's about being able to work and care for, your brother or your sister. And that's, like, it just seems so counterproductive. And I've watched this, Chael Sonnen and I have had some seriously deep conversations on how this stuff has been playing out. And I'm I'm very kind of like, I look at things analytically, and, Chael is like die hard Republican. I mean, like as die hard as it gets, which is totally
Yeah.
cool. And I'm like,
Yeah, sure.
and we have some, but we'll have some real educated talks on it, and he'll listen to me and I'll listen to him. And I would like to say that, I'm open to certain things, but I'm also very old school when it comes to just values, right? And trying to keep it so that my boys and my family can kind of grow up and learn those same values that I was taught,
Right.
and just
Sure.
kind of move it down the line. That's what kind of keeps things, I feel like that keeps things in orders. I mean, and the sense of entitlement that people have nowadays is just insane to me. It's insane. It's like, I have, I won't ever stop trying to create and build and try to motivate people to do the same thing on their own, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, like, shit, Ryan, I started a knife company 4 months ago. I know you saw, like, I started throwing knives. I started throwing knives because I was bored out of my mind, right? I started throwing knives, and in my backyard, saw a couple videos. I'm like, oh, okay, that's how you do half spin. That's how you do no spin. Then I started watching, like, because I just like martial arts. I nerd out on stuff, like whether
Right.
it's shooting a gun, shooting a bow and arrow, whatever. I nerd out like on technique. I'm really technique based. So I started looking at things a little bit differently, and I'm like, oh, like the do this right. They do it no spin, right? It just I got to learn how to figure out that one. So I started doing that, and from me messing with that, somehow I created my own knife company, and then I built a knife brand, and then I was like, oh, I want to sell knives. I'm going to create a whole new company selling knives, right? So I started Crimson Tactical, which is I have Triumph United, which is
Right.
it's a combat sports brand that sells combat sports equipment. And then on the flip side of it, I went and started a knife company, that has nothing to do with anything MMA related. And it's just like, boom, it blew up. Like, I'm like,
Yeah, but
I'm
the cool
moving
thing
knives. Like, I mean,
I was going to say the cool thing about what you do is, and this goes back to what you were saying earlier, is teaching your family is you just add value, right? You see something, and I think you've been doing this most of your life based on the conversation we had months ago or whenever it was, is like you see a need or you see a problem or you see something you want to engage in, and then you don't expect anything. Like, it's not about expectation. It's not about entitlement. What I've seen out of you is it's about adding value. You're talking about hopping on YouTube and watching a couple of videos and then just figuring this stuff out and then adding value to your life, to your family's lives, to the people who want to buy your products or be engaged with you. And I think that's the big distinction between what we see a lot in society and what we will continue to see for those people who can figure out what's valuable and then figure it out and then bring a product or a service to market like you're doing with the knife company.
yeah, but and it's. I guess my point is that, look, I'm not I don't come from the knife world. There's knife guys out there that have been doing this far longer
Yeah.
than I have.
Yeah.
But I do come from the world of business and understanding how to market and understanding how to get a product seen and in a way that will allow me to distribute it and make it work so I can make a viable business. And I did. I created.
How do you pick? How do you pick what you do though? Because okay, knives, but it could have very easily been camera equipment or writing a book or whatever. Pick something. Making blankets. I don't know.
Okay.
Why was it knives?
No, that's a good question. Is that I look at things that not only will I use personally, right, or that I have a deep involvement in, or that I mean, a lot of stuff for me is based around craftsmanship and understanding, like the knives that I sell, they're made in America, and they're the other brand, they're made in Italy, and so those are two of the, again, in my opinion, some of the best countries to purchase quality goods from. And so
Right.
I'm not looking to, I'm definitely not like looking to try to like exploit it's like my gloves. I have those are made in Thailand. You know, like it's like I do things because I look at it from an all encompassing view on how I could sell the story and what the
Mm,
story is to me. And the story for knives, I've loved knives since I was like, always loved knives. I mean, I've had knives since I was forever, right? I mean, and I use them because they're a utility tool on a daily basis. I use a knife every single day for something. And
right.
so being able to use a knife and being able to look and see and the quality and the manufacturing of what it is, I could go, okay, I could take this product and I could take it from here. And with what the skill set I have, I could take it from here. I could take it to here. And
Right.
I know how to maneuver and outbrand, you know, a lot of other people just because that's what I do. I mean, 2 years ago, nobody. I mean, I think actually, when did we do the podcast? Was it 2 years ago?
I can't remember. I should have looked. I don't think it was that long. It was probably a year or so ago, maybe a year and a half.
It's been a while, but I could tell you that I think I was just starting to get involved. We were just launching CBDMD,
Okay, yeah. I'm pulling it up
right?
as we're talking, so
I
keep
think
going.
what's
Yeah,
that?
so it was May of 2019. So yeah, about a year and a half.
Okay, a year and a half ago. So I had been with CBDMD. We started the brand in we started really launching the brand in November of 2018. That's when October of 2018. And that's when I started building out the program for CBDMD that mirrored the monster program that I have currently right now.
Right, right.
And but what I'm getting at is that like all of it, the universe that I create, whether it's knives, CBD products, the Monster drink, Triumph United, they all blend in. And I use the same principles and I use the same kind of, marketing, mindset. Plus, I dive deep into it. I learn about it. I understand it. I can tell you everything, from top to bottom about, the steel that's created in the knife to, the isolate and the CBD to where we get the water for Monster. I mean, like every single
Mm.
aspect I know, I can tell you. And that's what's been able to bring me and bring a lot of the products that I incorporate in my marketing stable, to higher levels of appreciation with the athletes that I sponsor, or how I personally endorse the product myself, right? And
You
so
said you said one thing about blending, like they all blend together. Like, what is it that ties them all together? Because I've thought about that with my own stuff. Like, I've got opportunities to do different things that some of them tie in, and others are like off the wall, like are interesting and engaging, but don't really tie into what I do. So, is
you
there an overarching theme? What is it?
you it's me. I mean, it's simple. I use Triumph United equipment because I train daily. I use CBDMD, CBD products because I need the recovery.
Mm,
Monster Energy is a drink that I consume, because I don't really drink coffee and I don't drink, other stuff. And we've come out with some very strong hydration drinks that are geared specifically for sports, and the knife, like the knife is the newest collection of my, like I said, the universe I've created of sellable artifacts that I can monetize. I mean, I use a knife on a daily basis. I continue to use knives every single day.
yeah.
And whether it's for just purposes of opening boxes or for protection, I have both, and who knows? I don't
So it's
know what
just
I might.
basically what you're interested in. I mean, if this sounds
It's
interesting to you, then you're going to take advantage of it.
if it has to be something that I know that I'm going to utilize personally, that I can go and do, a whether it's a goofy Instagram video or if it's something that like it's going to garner some attention, and that's it. Is that I put together my whole, I guess, in the shtick is that I draw attention to the items that I market and I sell, by doing the things that I know my consumers and the people that visually want to see me do stuff do. I look, other people have different ways of doing it. You've got guys from every scope of life right now trying and working on different ways to promote or to sell themselves or to get
Sure.
their brand name out there and say stuff. But for me, I just do what I know how to do, and that's basically interact with the consumer by like having them feel or just giving them the emotion of, something like that is either like, whoa, did he break a back leg? Is that real? Or,
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
or, or, oh my God, he just posted up a video of him falling on his face, kicking, and it's funny. And it's enough to where, it's increased my visibility. And I think people believe in me more, and they believe that I'm not just, because I don't do that. Like I don't go, I get offers on a daily basis, especially now that since my visibility has grown, and
Right, sure.
and people see what I do. I get offers all the time to try to promote a product. You know what I mean? And you mean, dude, people, this because you're in this world. People will offer you some weirdly obscene amounts of money just to promote a product. You're like, it doesn't really fit with my brand profile. And
Yeah.
honestly, like if I do that, that's going to put me, and it's going to send me in a position where people will question why I'm doing what I do.
Yeah, it undermines. I mean, you'll make a few bucks for sure, but it undermines everything else. And I think it's a short term play versus looking at the long term and really trying to figure out the empire, for lack of a better term, that you may be trying to build.
Well, yeah, and that's, I learned that from Joe a long time ago, and we had talked about, because years ago I used to bring Joe deals all the time, like tons of deals. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, I want to say, this is when the podcast was a couple of years old, but like I would consistently tell Joe, hey Joe, I got this for you. Like, Joe, I got this for you. I got you. Like, they would kind of all come back. I mean, like, he would always try the products out. He would always,
Yeah. Yeah.
he would always like look at it and see it. But most of the time, it's like, yeah, I'm not into it, or I'm not doing
Right.
it. The irony is that when I don't ask him, I'm not asking him to promote something like, hey, like, here's a Triumph tee, or like, here's something. No, here I sent whatever. He does, and but that's what makes it cool. That's what makes it organic. That's what makes it like it to me. That's what gives you the real legitimacy of knowing that he actually is into something like that.
Right. Well, and I think that's why I've been attracted to what you're doing, even since I started following and being connected with you years ago. Is like, you seem like a guy that you would just hang out with, right? Like, you're not posturing, you're not trying to make yourself out to something that maybe you aren't, but it's like, oh yeah, I recognize myself a little bit in him because that's the silly shit that I do. I fall on my face, or I try new things, and I think that level of realness and just being who you are really resonates with people, especially in a sea of everybody trying to like tell people how good they are, how special they are, and why they're unique. It's like, yeah, here's what I am, here's what I do. Let's do it or not, whatever.
Yeah,
that's fine.
But that's the long game, right? Is that there's only so much you can do for. I mean, like, look at what is social media? What is podcasts? What age are we in right now that we could digitally share our conversations and share what we're trying to put out and continue to like inspire people out there. There's a long game to it. And so if
Right.
you can't think of the long game, you can't go, oh, in 2 years, I still have to be doing this. This isn't going to go away,
sure.
unless some magic other, thing pops up and it's a new form. Because, you look at the, and this is the thing. And I've talked to a lot of people, is like celebrities nowadays, right? So like, the potential of somebody that has a very strong presence on social media that like is consistent with their content, consistent with what they're doing, and does things that inspires people or they listen to, they're going to get noticed, and they're going to be seen, and they're going to have more influence than a professional athlete that refuses to do any of that kind of stuff and just goes, I just play, you got to pay me. And so me on the reverse role, and I tell this to my athletes all the time. I'm like, you got to explain to me why I should pay you more than I pay myself, because you're nowhere near the amount. You're not getting anywhere near the amount of exposure that I get. You may have more of you may have more accolades when it comes to winning events. You may more
Right.
have
Your
accolades
particular
when it
skill
comes
set, sure.
but you're but people just look at that for the night of what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you're gone. And yeah, you
Yeah.
may have a you know the amount of fans that you may have from that maybe exponentially higher than what I have or than the other person. But guess what? They don't listen to you. They're just
Well,
kind of
or
there.
yeah, or if your skill set goes away, so let's take an athlete, whether it's UFC or NFL or whatever, it doesn't matter. And they get injured and they become obsolete and that's all they were focused on, like they're done.
They're
Because
done.
nobody cares anymore because all they cared about was him playing football or him fighting or whatever. And, I know, for example, we've talked with Cowboy. You look at what he's doing. I know he's partnered up with you, I think, on the knives. Is that right?
Yeah, we're working on some stuff. I mean, him and I have a lot of stuff that we just do because we like to do weird stuff like that. Like we're making a
Right.
knife together, and then we've got some off road stuff we're working on too.
And that's what I'm saying.
And
So he's like branching out and making himself more than the cowboy, the fighter cowboy, right? Like he's making himself more than that, which keeps him relevant so he can continue to do the same things that he wants to do. You're doing very much the same thing.
yeah, and but that's it. I mean, if you don't, you're gonna get stuck in you're gonna get stuck in a real world position of what do I actually do to make money for my family and myself? Like, what do I do? And
Right.
that's when I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but I mean, there was times, and I used to see this quite a bit, especially living in San Diego, where you would walk into like, and like I remember when I was a kid, like maybe like my dad and I were out just like checking out trucks or something, right? And all of a sudden it's like you get the dude that comes up and like, yeah, I used to play football for the Rams, and I'm like, well, why are you selling trucks right now?
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
because he didn't have anything to fall back on. And so it's like, yeah, you could go and you could talk about that and you can go back and sit and relive the glory days, but you should probably be prepping for that before you even get to that point. And so my advice to people now, if you're starting a business or you're planning on starting a business, I always tell everybody, look at the overall like environment that you're in. If you can't do every single aspect of your job, if you can't go and pack a box, ship a box, and you can't design your stuff, you can't do every single thing, you can't figure out how to get it done, you're going to be in some problems. If you want to be an entrepreneur,
Right. Oh, for
sure,
sure.
sure, sure. I mean, like, will there be work for people to do other jobs? Absolutely, of course there will be. But I mean, is there going to be a point where those jobs are going to max out and you're going to be stuck at a certain place and you're going to see a major difference in scale on where people are at because they have put more effort into trying to build businesses rather than just saying I just do this. Yeah,
Right.
you're going to see that. And I think we're moving into, and I think that's what people are scared about is that I don't want to say that we're going to see a major separation in classes. I think we're going to see a major separation in ideology, and when more people start to understand how that works and how true ideology, like just getting and just having some free flowing creative thinking and knowing, okay, I need to at least have this kind of base set up, and then I at least have to have a foundation that I could build off of, so that my house is going to be strong. Rather than just kind of going, ooh, 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 I'm this. Oh, this is a new thing that I need to support. I'm supporting this. Like, I didn't jump on that train, and I didn't jump on any of those trains for one reason, is that I just don't believe in it like that. I believe in it like I really truly believe in like I've got friends and I've got it doesn't matter what race they are, it doesn't matter what orientation they are, it doesn't make a difference to me. Like, if they're my friend, they're my friend. They're like they're gonna be cool. I mean, but I'm not gonna go and I'm not gonna sit there and just look at it and go like, you guys are going to implode this entire world by trying to create a message that is not sustainable.
Right.
It's not a
Right.
sustainable message what you're doing, and you're confusing the shit out of people that really don't even understand or have a true belief or know what these other people are actually going through that do not support what you think that you're supporting is helping. That's the problem.
Well, and I think a lot of industries too, especially as we continue to progress with technology, will just absolutely render themselves obsolete. Like I think about my old business, before Order of Man, I was in financial planning. And
Yeah.
I saw a bunch of old, overweight, kind of mediocre guys that were phasing out, and all of them were clinging to the way that financial planning had traditionally been done. And I thought to myself, man, this is a dying industry. And if there's financial advisors listening to this, you're either on one side of the fence or the other. You're either thinking, no, this is the way it's always been done, this is the way it always will be, and you're delusional and you're going to be stuck. Or
Well, it's the
you
same thing with
understand.
marketing, though. It's like, but keep going, I'll get into marketing
Yeah,
after you.
yeah, wrap it into it. But or you realize, okay, well, people are always going to need financial services. Maybe there's a new way to administer this, to use technology, to use advancing ideas, still be relevant, and still make yourself a lucrative business that can provide for you, your family, and your loved ones. But people just get stuck in their ways and aren't willing to evolve and look to new opportunities in their current markets.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Is that like so from the marketing standpoint? Is that I deal with a majority of the companies that I work with. There's a couple of trains of thoughts, and there's a lot of people that are on the they're moving and they're starting to trend towards you know how businesses were marketed and done 20 years ago, right? And how things should have been done, like everything from 20 years ago we did television ads, we did radio ads, we did print
Right.
catalogs,
Yep.
you did advertising in magazines. Like these were the norm. That was the norm, right? And before that there was a whole other set of norms that people didn't want to believe that this was going to be the norm. Well, now
Mm-hmm.
it's all digital, and now that it's digital, you have a lot of people that, and this is the one thing that I always capture a lot of brands on. And when I speak to CEOs of brands, and I just question if they want to work with me, and we start talking about potential ideas of how this is going to work, and I start talking about social media, and I start talking about digital content, and I talk about the consistent use of you have to feed out your message consistently, and if you don't do it, you're gonna get lost.
No
And
doubt.
so where they're like, well, we could just run a TV ad and people will see it on TV. What's the difference between that and like what you're talking about? I go, well, I'll tell you right now that the age demographics that are going to be affecting your future sales don't watch TV like that anymore. They
Right.
don't pick up a magazine and look through the ads, and they're never going to pick up a newspaper ever. That's just never going to happen. Like these
Mm-hmm.
things are things that you're going to eventually you're gonna phase yourself out, because the next company or the next brand, as they may not have the same kind of years of experience or years of quality manufacturing you have, they're just smarter at marketing, and they're going to do a better job, and they're going to move their product quicker.
Yeah.
Like I said, I started a knife company 5 months, not even 4 months ago, 3 months ago, and I've
Well, and
already.
that's the thing too, is you have the credibility and authority to be able to do that because you've done other things and you've put yourself out there and you're in front of it the entire time, in front of the right people the entire time. You're not just hawking a product. You've positioned it so that you're relevant. And then when you offer something that you think is valuable, like knives or gloves or pick, then people are like, oh yeah, got it. It's the same thing we've done. When we started Order of Man 6 years ago, we did the podcast, and I went for 2 years before we really offered anything of substance. And then when we turned that faucet on, guys were like, yeah, I'm in, because they were waiting, because we already had all of that credibility in store and built up, and we were doing it over a period of years. So then we built the credibility to be able to turn that faucet on, I guess you'd say. And it wasn't something like we were just turning it on overnight hoping somebody would show up. Like they were already there.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, but it's keeping them there. It's keeping that group of people that in the beginning they'll be confused. They won't understand fully 100% why you're doing what you do and how you're doing it. Then they'll start to get that there's consistency in what you're doing, and then they'll start to understand, oh, I get it. This is why he does what he does. Then they're going to want to be a part of it. And
Yeah.
that's the goal for me, is that I want to create, and I want to continue to create a, sustainable, group of people that believe in the products and the brands that I'm associating myself with, or I'm putting myself, aligned with, so that it works out for everybody. Again, I'm not gonna just go pick up some random company if I don't believe in it, or if I don't think I could use it, just because they're paying me a bunch of money, or because they've got deep pockets to market their product. I wouldn't do it. In fact, I didn't do it. Like, I had, when I chose CBDMD, I had offers from like a lot of CBD companies, actually, because CBD was just blowing up at that time. And I'm like,
Right. Sure.
I just didn't. I liked the CBDMD product. I vibed well with them, and I just felt that it would be a better fit for me. And I thought that it would be an easy addition to the portfolio that I've created with other brands that are associated. And so now, between both CBDMD and Monster, like, we've got a really strong foothold in strength and conditioning. We have a huge foothold in MMA. We have a huge foothold in action sports, and this stuff just doesn't happen because, magically, like, we got lucky because of it. No, man. I mean,
Right.
this is like, I've been doing this for 20 years. I mean, like,
Right.
like me, giving, calling up Jamie O'Brien, one of the best pro surfers in the world, and getting him on the team, or working with, Daniel Cormier, or any of the, or I mean, anybody along the matter. Like, these are the people that are all people I've worked with in the past. Like, McCool Rothman is one of the the best big wave surfers in the world. His father is an icon on the North Shore. Like, I've worked with McCool and his family since he was a kid. Like, we're family. Like, so these are the things, and these are the people that I bring in, because I know that they can not only deliver on what I need them to, but we can work together to build a product out in a way that it will distribute and send that same message that I'm sending across all over. That's it.
Yeah, I want to come back to that, because the one thing I see, you're good at a lot of things, but one thing you're exceptionally good at from my perspective is building that network. So I'm going to get to that in just a second. But I also wanted to mention and suggest that I've seen what you do in that you're building a community. So I think the old way of doing it was, here I am as a product or a company or a brand, and it's me trying to sell you something. And I think the more evolved version of that is that it's not me trying to sell you something. It's now a community of individuals who rally around a cause or a purpose, and we're all in this thing collectively. And that's what I've tried to create. And it sounds like that's what you're referring to, is not the company selling to a consumer, but a community building what it is we need, what solutions we need for the problems that we're dealing with.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like-minded individuals. I mean, it's a lot of them. Like I said, these aren't people that you meet, 2 days before, and then try to convince them to be a part of something that you're like, these aren't like,
Right.
these aren't like fast schemes to get people involved. These are cultured relationships that you take, like, many years. You cultivate them. You have to
Right.
make sure that they are there, and they're strong, and that, if you're going to bring them on, you're going to do something with them, that they're going to deliver as much as you're going to have to deliver back to them. And sometimes it doesn't always work out for either of you, but realistically, as long as you provide a good product and you stand by your word, and you're honest. The honesty is the aspect that
Sure.
that you need to make sure you uphold, because the moment you start becoming dishonest with them, or you do things in a way that will jeopardize or potentially compromise the position of where you're at with these brands, they see it and they sniff it out quick, and they don't want to be a part of
Yeah.
it.
Well, I'm sure so many of them have been burned in the past that they're very wary of what could potentially happen should it go south.
I mean, almost every athlete I've ever worked with has been burned at some sort of, in some sort of capacity, and a lot of them I've told them they're going to get burned, and
Yeah.
so and I see it from both sides, because I'm an athlete, and I've been there, and I've been burned. I've seen how companies can burn you. I've seen how companies can burn, just people just trying to get in. to kind of rope this back into the entrepreneurs out there that are trying to figure out how to start or learn or build a product or get involved in something or do something on the side. The best thing and the only thing I would say for them to do is that they have to be truly passionate, but they have to not be fans. The moment you become a fan of it, like you have to cross over. Like you could be a fan. I'm a fan of knives, right? I'm a fan. I mean, like, I'm a fan of this knife. This is one of my favorite knives. This is, the Microshop Tron. I love this knife. I'm a fan of this knife, but I'm not attached to it in a way that like it's going to consume my life. And like, if I had to sell this knife, like, even though this is my personal knife and it's like, this is like, I'd sell in a second. I have
so a fan is emotionally vested in it and it's not rational. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying that like there's like being a fan of the product, being a fan of the people that you're working with is fine, but to be so wrapped up to the point, like I said, this is my personal knife where I'm like, oh, I can't sell this thing. This is personal. There's like sentimental value.
Gotcha.
I don't have that. I don't have that. Ryan, you make me an offer on this knife, and I think it's worth it. It's yours. When I talk to my athletes and they go, hey, look, I got an offer from X company. They're going to pay me double the amount of what you're paying me right now, and they're giving me a 2-year deal. Can you match it? No, I can't. Well, what should I do? I think you should go. You know what I mean? What? You think I should just
That's
go?
That's honesty, right?
And I go, yeah. I think that you should go, and I think you should take advantage of what you're going to make and what you're going to get from that other company, because I can't provide that to you right now, but I will never take money out of your hands. I will never do that, because again, that's the difference. Is that like I'm not trying to hoard them in. I'm not like trying to go, no, you're mine. You have to stay with me. I don't care what someone like. You stay with me. I've gone to the extent of breaking contracts for athletes, even though I had a year left and I could pay them half the amount of money, or, like a quarter of the amount of money that they were going to get paid by this other company. I've broken contracts. I did that with Letitia Buffoni. She's one of the greatest female skateboarders in the world that's ever existed. You could look her up. And she got an offer. She was skating for Osiris shoes at the time. She got an offer from Nike. And she came to me and she said, I got a dream offer from Nike. And Letitia, if you look at Letitia now, you'll understand very, very, you'll fully understand why she's at the top of her game. She's not only like a phenomenal skateboarder, but she's like, she's got it all. She's got the whole package. And I just was like, you know what? Go. I'll break the contract. Wow. I mean, I could have just held it and said, you know what? No, you're sticking with me for the next year. I'm going to pay you X amount of money, and then we're done. And I didn't do that. And I wouldn't do that to anybody, that if I knew that it was going to be such a life-changing event for them that they could, they could truly move up and level up. I still want to work with these people.
Right.
I don't want them to feel like they're jailed by me. Like I want to be able to eventually, like if I have a different deal, or if there's something else, or say something doesn't work out, we could always come back. I want them to have animosity. Like you're the guy that really totally like you just took this major opportunity away from me for what? For what reason? And there was no real reason except for, we had a pre-existing deal, but that pre-existing deal, like only goes so far when you can't provide the same kind of support that somebody else is in somebody else that has not only the funds, but real funds, like real money. And so, and her and I have a phenomenal relationship to this day. Like
sure. I bet.
So it's like, and I have, and that's okay. The moral of all of this, I guess, is that, a very smart man named Scott Coker told me once, your network is your net worth, right? And so understanding that is an easy way to fully grasp the fact that building a good network of people that's strong in a way that you could call upon them for things that you need, strong in a way that when we were launching CBDMD, I sent texts out to my crew, Jesse, like, hey Jesse, you ready to roll? Hey Flex Lewis, you ready to roll? Hey Weidman, you ready to roll? Rogan, I'm sending you a package. Like all these people, like boom, 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 all the way down the line. Like here, these are the people that are coming out right now. You're rolling with us. Cormier, here you go. And you pull it out there, and they're like, send it out. I'll take it from you. Like, if you're going to be involved, Hans, I want to be in. And that's the thing, is that the network that has been created has, for me, been able to increase my net worth because of who I'm associated with and how I could utilize that to build off of the other programs and the other things I'm doing. And so
I'm trying to anticipate something on this though, Hans, because I think what a lot of guys might be saying is, well, yeah, that's easy for you to build this knife company or do this because you have this network. So, and what they're thinking also is, how do I add value when I don't feel like I have any value to add? Like how do I, if I wanted to reach out to you, for example, for the first time, reach out to you and offer some sort of tangible value if we don't know each other or I don't have anything going on? And I think that's where a lot of guys are stuck.
Okay, so because I get this all the time, right? And there's a couple ways of doing this, and there's the worst way possible is that you oversell yourself and say you have to do something with me, and I don't have to do anything with anybody,
right? Right.
The second way is like there's the underselling, which is like, I will do anything for you. I want to be your apprentice. Can I just hang out with you for a day? Then you're like, well, this is weird.
This is weird.
The third way is you create something and you start the creation of something that's different, that catches someone's attention. And what do? Is you don't go and create something that's going to compete with me. You don't create something that's going to compete with you. You start to look at the openings and you start to look at the different ideas of like, wow, you know what? There isn't like, I'm looking at these industries, and I'm looking at the industry that I would love to be a part of. Like, let's pick an industry and I'll roll with it.
Just pick skateboarding. That's fine.
Okay, skateboarding, right? So you look at skateboarding. So you pick skateboarding. Like, okay, there's a lot of deck companies out there. There's a lot of deck companies. Deck companies like wood is hard to compete with because usually, you have to be. They're all pro skateboarder owned, and like like that's the kind of the retirement goes. So what would I do? What could I add? What could I build that would be something that I can go and offer pro skateboarders or skateboarders in general that would start to use my product in a way that I could flow them product. It's not going to cost me an arm and a leg because I don't have to pay them to endorse it quite yet because I want them to use it. And you start to look around for what openings there are. Okay, so on the high end, skateboard wood, making decks, that's kind of tough. So, well, you got wheels, you got bearings. Years ago. And did you or were you involved in skateboarding? I can't remember if you.
No, I mean I had a skateboard and like rolled on it twice, and that was like the extent of my skateboarding.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a story about one of the biggest skateboard companies that existed in the 90s that totally ended up flopping. But for a brief second, they made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they just couldn't keep up. So all the skateboarders out there that are in the age bracket of 35 to 45 years old will know this brand. The brand's name was called Shorties, right? Okay. Shorties Skateboards. And Shorties was a skateboard company, and the whole reason why they blew up was they had a couple of movies, but they had a skateboarder named Chad Muska. And Chad Muska was like the original, so he was the guy that in the late 90s was like, he was a white guy with like long blonde hair, but he was really into hip hop, and he wore big baggy pants, and he made it very cool for other kids that didn't feel that they could be a part of that genre, for two reasons. A, he was a insane skateboarder. He could skate. Sure. He was legit. So he was legit at what he did. B, he rolled that style and that flair for real. Like, he wasn't doing it like as a joke. He did it and he lived it, and he went off of it. That's how he was. But the brand the brand that he was associated with, now remember, like I was saying, like most brands were all like, he wasn't a part of a skateboard wood brand that was like owned by like a former professional skateboarder that like could say, oh, this is Tony Hawk's brand, or somebody like of a huge, he wasn't a part of that brand. What they started off as, and this is where I've learned how easy it is to be able to morph your brands and build brands off of, they started off as a bolt company. So when I say bolts, they went the lowest route possible. They went and started making bolts, like bolts that screw your trucks in.
Right,
bolts
screw your trucks in, right, sure.
Bolts that screw your wheels in, like bolts, like hardware, just a hardware company. They morphed from hardware to doing bushings, where they did the bushings. They went from bushings to doing bearings. They started making all these outside components. They didn't do trucks, but they did everything. They did grip tape. You know, they did their grip tape, and then they had their boards. So they went from starting off like, I mean, anyone could go get hardware anywhere. Anybody could go. I mean, they could have gone to Home Depot, packaged hardware, put it in a package, repackaged it, and put it in and called it Shorties, like they did, and they blew up. And so they blew up, and they became one of the largest brands in the 90s ever. Any skateboarder from the 90s that remembers this time, they'll go, yeah, Shorties was one of the biggest brands ever. And it all started from Bolt. So my point, circling back, because now that I think about it, that fully dates me and shows how old I am, you know, because I started work at a skate shop, and then I went to work for, you know, shoes, and I worked with you know who Ken Block is, right?
I don't know him.
Ken Block Ken Block started DC Shoes. Look him up. Ken Block's a phenomenal dude. You got to Google Ken Block, because I'm kind of like, I follow everything. Like Ken and I work together at, like, he's one of my athletes. He's one of my athletes now at CBDMD, even though he had a shoe company called DC Shoes that like was one of the biggest. Yeah, DC.
I wore DC when I was in California. I wore DC, so.
Well, so he started DC.
Interesting.
And so he went from being a businessman to a rally racer. And so that's the whole thing, is that like start off, if you want to be in an industry, look for the low-hanging fruit. Look for the easiest barrier of entry, and then grow from there. Start easy, get in, build your network. You're not going to build your network. You're not going to build your network trying to go and say, I'm going to go right after, you know what? I'm going to do Order of Men. You know what I mean? Like, and go and compete against you.
Oh, I've had stuff like that come up.
But you know what I mean? Like, so it's some guy that's like trying to be you, like, that's like, you're like, and then tries to do the same kind of format and tries to do the same kind of deal, and you're like, dude, this is not how it works. Like, why don't you go and do something that maybe is like that can complement what I do, and then we could kind of like, we could draft off each other and we could work together. That's the goal. That's how you build that network. That's how I built mine. You know,
yeah, that's interesting. Bottom line. I'd never heard it that way, is because I know that's a lot of the guys' issues, is like, how do I add value? I have nothing to add. It's like, well, go, you said it perfectly. Go create something. I mean, you have a wonderful opportunity, and the barrier to entry has, for anything, regardless of what it is, like you said, go to Home Depot, buy bolts, repackage them, right? The barrier to entry has never been lower if you just exercise a little creativity and ingenuity and get your ass out there and get to work.
20 years ago, you would have to have a full product line. You would have to have sales reps. You would have to go into the shops. You would have to convince the shops to purchase your product. You would have to wholesale your product and make you'd make a substantial, like basically, like, you'd sell everything at a discounted rate just to get it in there. You're making barely enough money to continue to build out your product line and continue to do this. Today, you've got a way that you could start a store within an hour, and you could be having your products loaded up within the next hour. I mean, my guys are shooting our products right now. They're in the back shooting all of our new products. It will be up by tonight. I will be selling it by tomorrow. We'll be sold out by Thursday. That's how easy it is to do this now. If you can't go and do the research. I told this to Dean Litzer when he was sitting on my couch the other day, and I was like, dude, You're one of the best jiu-jitsu, players on the planet. I go, if you can't figure out how to monetize it by doing like a Patreon account or doing something like
Right.
that. I go, I want you to become a black belt in that. Go on YouTube, study it. You can do it. Like, you can do it. If you can do that, like if you could figure out how to start doing that, it's money on the table. Everybody wants to see it.
Everybody wants to go to a seminar or learn or whatever for that, for sure. Absolutely.
Hey, and now that you can't actually physically go to seminars, it's a lot harder to do. Doing stuff online, it's money. It's money all day long.
Well, it's even easier because we can do meetings like this. We don't have to travel. There's no logistics. It's all just right here on our computer virtually. It's way easier than it was even when we had to go places.
Yes, and it's accepting, and people have accepted it, and it's not like oh, cool, right on. People are like, yeah, like they're dying to learn information. They're dying to learn about, how to better themselves. We're in an extremely, like I said, on one side, I'm very nervous and kind of just wondering how things play out. But on the other hand, look, I still have faith in humanity, and I think that, I'll part words like this, like there's reasons why, people have been able to in life grow and get to the next level. They have to put the work in. They got to do it. And I'm not saying it to be the cliche guy, but I'll say this, man, is that, we are all direct descendants of people from that have survived for thousands and thousands of years. Whether you're a descendant of somebody that may have just somehow squeaked by, or you're a descendant of the baddest warrior that's ever existed, somewhere down your bloodline, you've made it this far, right? So your lineage has made it this far. And, for me, like I know that I have, and I've got this like almost in my world, I've got the warrior bloodline of, Polynesian roots.
Yeah.
Plus mixed with Nordic Viking roots, which is like this combination of like me just wanting to just conquer, just wanting to get after it and go and go and go. And like, and I'm nowhere near even close. Like, I feel like I'm just getting started, man. Like, I was having the surgeries, having all these major setbacks. I mean, like, dude, I had kidney stones. I was in the hospital for 4 days last week.
Yeah,
Ryan.
I saw that, man. I saw that.
I don't care. I didn't, and they were tripping out that I didn't care. I was like, just get me on, get me out. Like, I don't give a shit. I want out of here. I want to get back to work. I went straight back to work. Like, I'm back working out. Like, I don't care. I'm not like, for me, it's all mental. Things happen. Like, could I have controlled the fact that I got kidney stones? Well, I could probably drink more water, which I'm doing now, but that's beside the point. Like, it's just, I had overtrained. I hadn't been drinking enough water. It was my mistake. I own it. I drink a lot more water right now, and you move forward. Am I going to dwell on it? Am I going to blame anything for it? No, it's my fault. I mean, I sat on the damn Stairmaster for 2 hours the other day, sweated so much, water out of me, and then I went right into my office and worked and kind of forgot about stuff, and it's my fault. Yeah. And it happens. But am I going to go and place the blame on anybody but myself? No, it's my fault. I did it. So I'm the one who had to pee out the kidney stones that felt like razor blades and lemon juice with paper cuts mixed in between.
I can't imagine. I had a kidney stone years ago, and it was small enough that it just broke. I actually went in the hosptal, and it broke up while I was there. So I can't imagine having to deal with having to pass one. I don't even want to think about.
Well, it gets even better than that, though. Is that the antibiotics that they gave me to kind of fight the infection off?
Right.
Well, they didn't. Well, of course, of all my luck. The antibiotics, my body was like, nah, it's not going to work on. We don't want these, and it didn't work. So I almost had to have dialysis. I mean, I was kidney failure.
Jeez.
Like, yeah, I mean, dude, I had tubes hooked up in all my arms, and I was like sitting there and just like, can I leave? Can I leave? Can I leave? And they're like, no. And I'm like, I feel better. I'm fine. Can I leave? And truthfully, again, like I said, I wasn't worried. I wasn't like. I didn't get into a space of mental worry. I've been down these roads. I've had my neck fused. I've had my back fused. I know where I'm at. All I know is one thing, is that I got to get better. I got to take care of myself. But mentally, like if this is going and I've got things that I got to get done, I'm good, man.
Yeah.
All the other stuff, dude, the pain's going to go away, man. It's going to go away. Whether it's mental, physical, emotional, it's going to go away. It's going to go away. You just got to push through, and then once you're past it, it's like passing that kidney stone. It's going to go. And you pass, boom. All of a sudden pain starts to go away. It sucked. Shitty. It's a horrible situation to go through. I don't wish it on anybody else. Right now, I'm in a situation right now where I sold out of all of our Triumph gears, pretty much sold out. And, stuff like I've got stuff on the water, containers on the water of stuff coming in. I can't make money right now.
Right. Sitting on it. Yep.
I'm just waiting for it to show up, but am I complaining? No, I'm just figuring out different ways to do different things, and that's what we do, is that we have to just realize that like if you sit there and dwell on your existence and you feel that you have a shitty existence and you're never going to go anywhere, no, he just knows everybody, so he's so lucky he could hang out with these guys. How do you think I met them all?
Exactly.
How do you think I met Conor McGregor? I don't know. Maybe, just maybe John Kavanaugh is a friend of mine. Maybe, just maybe, he asked me for some gloves for this young kid from Ireland that was looking, to make a big splash in the United States. Maybe, just maybe, I had the foresight and the intelligence to look at it and go, yeah, you're right. This guy could be something big. Let's make sure this guy gets taken care of. And you take care of them all the way through. I sat with Jocko, true story. Jocko will and has to confirm this, is that I sat there in his living room, brought my camera gear, brought everything, and said, hey, dude, I'm shooting these portraits of you right now. And this is like, I want to say maybe it was either the month the podcast started or was just about to start.
So just right there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because dude, I've got date. I'll forward you the date on the.
I probably used a picture you took for like our original discussion with Jocko that I used as like the cover work or something.
I think you actually did. I think you
That's
did.
funny, man.
But there's these things are all time stamped, right? So it's like I can't make that up. And I told Jocko, I'm like, I'm telling you, dude. I know when these things happen. I did it with Kimbo. I did it with Rampage. I did it with Conor. I did it. Recently I did it with Masvidal. But back then with Jocko, like, I'm shooting you, dude. I'm gonna shoot portraits of you, and I'm gonna have the original portraits before this thing goes out of control,
blows up. Right.
And it did.
Yeah.
And it did. And so it's like, I have those original shots, and I have like, and for me, those shots, and like I said, this is where, when people go, oh, well, he has act. Well, look, Jocko and I went to Japan together to Corner Dean in like 15 years ago. We all had done our thing for many and many years, regardless of the fact of where anybody's at right now. But you still, and I still had to, you have to develop, and you understand. It's like you ask me to be a guest on your show. It's not like you're just randomly picking me. You know what you're getting yourself into when you're
for sure, of course.
But I don't do many of these, and that. You're not going to find me on many unless I like the person, or I'm good, because I get asked all the time. Like, no.
Oh, I bet.
I don't care. I'm not out there trying to self promote like that. I'm out there to have real conversations with guys like you that hopefully I can help your network. And
you've already done that. So yeah, absolutely. You're not saying things that you aren't practicing.
No, and that network comes back to you, and then it flows through me, and then that network becomes both of our net worth. Our worth grows because you are a part of my universe. When you like you asked me, you've reached out for me to hey, can you hook? Yeah, done deal. And I don't flinch on shit. Yeah. Granted, he's not the easiest guy to get down to lock down sometimes.
Hey, but that's how it goes, man. Such is life.
But that like it's not like I'm like, no, I'm absolutely not going to do that.
No, you're going to bat.
Once I'm in there, it's in, and how I feel about people and how I work and react. That's it. I just want to see, look, dude, we all come from different paths. We all come from different places. But the truth is that it's what we leave, what our legacy leaves for our kids. That's it. Like, it doesn't matter. I mean, like whatever your father passed down to you or your mother passed down to you, none of that's going to be nearly as relevant of what you pass down to your children and how you do it. And so, you could have had the greatest parents in the world. You could have had the shittiest parents in the world. Who doesn't? I don't know, but I do know one thing is that I judge you on the content of your character, not theirs.
Yeah.
And so how I relate to you or how I want to work with you is based off that. And that's how I look at other people and how I want to continue. I don't want to have, I'm not out there trying to burn bridges. I definitely don't want to have enemies. I mean, I look at it like if I could squash a situation before it gets too big. I mean, I've had to do them a lot recently. Sometimes they're not going to be as, like you may not have the same kind of relationship going forward, but it's better to just get it out in the open and done than to stew and manifest and
for sure, and just fester and get,
yeah. Well, you get these people like, I'll never do business. I hate that guy so much. You're like, well, you know what, man? I mean, what if just by random coincidence, that guy was like walking by and you fell into a freezing river and like he just looks at you and he keeps walking.
Right.
Or you could have buried the hatchet at some point in time and he would help you out because he may not like you, but he's definitely going to help you out. You don't want that same guy to just like, not just leave you out there. Just bury it. Just get rid of it.
I remember this was years ago. I was driving down the road and there was this truck in front of me and they were driving so slow and it was just pissing me off. So we were on a 2-lane road and I burned around him real quick and I'd cut him off a little bit. No joke. Half a mile down the road, the U-joint on my truck goes out. So I'm like, what in the world's going on? So I pull over and I'm like, God, these people I just passed and probably flipped off on the way past me are going to be all, whatever, honk or flip me off back. The guy pulls over and he tows my truck into town. And that's exactly what you're talking about, man. Yeah. It's like you burn these bridges. That guy didn't have to stop. He didn't have any reason to stop. But he did, and he helped me in spite of my poor behavior in the moment.
And you felt like,
I felt like a dick, man. I felt horrible. For sure.
Yeah, but you won't do that now.
No, exactly. Of course.
No, and because you've learned restraint, and you've learned how to go, dude. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it, man. It's not worth it. Build your network. Build it in a way that it's sustainable. You don't have to do business with everybody. You don't have to like everybody. You don't have to like their politics. You don't have to like their beliefs. But just realize that you're going to have to work with people at certain points in time. If you don't like where they're going, what their deal is, go, that's cool. Let's figure out where we're out here. But you do your deal, man. I'm not even trying to get involved in that.
Right.
That's it. But like that. But that's the thing is that if you want to be in business and you want to be able to be successful in business, don't alienate yourself.
I like it, brother. We've gone through a lot, man. There's a lot to unpack and digest here. I know the guys listening are going to be stoked about what they're hearing, but because I know these guys want to start brands and they want to start businesses and they want to put themselves out there, and you've really given us a masterclass.
Anybody can do it.
Stuff, man.
Don't let anybody say that you can't. Don't let anybody say you can't. I mean, like, this is a cool little thing here, and I mean, I'm not trying to pump up Monster or anything like this, but so this right here, see this right here? Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it. Yep.
See, so my buddy Kelly Revolve, his art name is Risk. He designed this for Monster, and so this guy, so him and I, we go back so far that like he was designing shoes for me 15 years ago. And that's what I'm saying is that, look, now he's designing Monster cans. There's a correlation. I'm sure you can figure that part out, and that's what I'm saying is that when you come up, you bring your other friends up. When they come up, they bring you in, and it all works out together. And that's the thing. That's the value of having a network that's sustainable, that will create a bigger net worth for you in the future. It's not all about just having and seeing how much money you have in the bank. It's about how you can tap into certain people at certain times to go, okay, look, this is an interesting idea. How can we make this thing better? Oh, you know what? I'm working on some knives. Hey, Cowboy, you want to work on some knives with me? Hell yeah, I want to work on some knives with you. Boom, done.
Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. Man. It's powerful stuff. I appreciate you. We're going to put this out. The guys are going to want it. Tell them where to connect with you on the knives or anything else that you've got going on, so they can follow you.
It's the easiest is just go to my Instagram. It's okay. Just at Hans Molenkamp, and then from there you could go to every link. I've got all my brands are on the whatever their bio, and you can see all of them.
Right on. We're going to sync it up for the guys. Hans, I appreciate our friendship. I appreciate what you do, the inspiration that you give to me, and certainly your marketing perspective and branding is something that I've tried to incorporate to a degree here with Order of Man, and it's been invaluable, man. I really appreciate it.
It's blowing up. Keep doing what you're doing. We all love it.
We're going to keep going. We're not stopping.
Don't get too cold out there, man.
I might. I gotta stay warm.
I mean, it's a frigid 67 degrees out where I'm here.
Yes, I told you before we hit record. It's snowing right now, so we'll deal with it. We'll hunker down for the winter and be okay.
All right, man. Take care.
Thank you, brother.
See ya.